Good afternoon and welcome to the Eagle Report. I'm Liam Connors and with me today is the fantastic Calvin Longcarrot. Calvin, how are you?
Don't presume to talk to me. This is your first time hosting. You have to.
Right.
Okay.
We're friends. We're friends on here.
Yes, for the camera. I'm good. How are you, Liam?
I'm doing well. Yes, no, it's fantastic weather out there in the Agora
It's
today.
gorgeous in the
I know.
Agora today.
It's absolutely beautiful. Couldn't believe my eyes. The spring has come and packed a punch. It's fantastic.
That's like the most water cooler talk I've ever heard in my life.
Oh.
We have got a packed show for you today, including headlines, more headlines, as well as an interview with a coordinator from Loud, that's the Trobe community, and more content galore. You can reach us on Facebook Live. We are live there, upstart.net.au. And if you want to tweet at us, shoot us a tweet at the Eagle Report. That's our handle. And yeah, so now we have, I believe it is Marie Trevithick with the headlines. Nope,
No,
it's Sheridan Lee.
Sheridan.
It's Sheridan Lee.
And by the way, Loud is the La Trobe University Debating Club.
That would be lewd.
Not the first thing you've got wrong today. No, I'm totally kidding.
That would be lewd.
Okay, so first of all, the federal government is subsidising the cost of a cancer-fighting drug under a new $460 million plan. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull announced today at Sydney's North Shore Hospital. The drug, which is a treatment for leukemia and lymphoma, is going to be on the pharmaceutical benefit scheme from December 1. The cost of the drug, normally over $100,000 per treatment, would be reduced to $38.30 per script or $6.30 for a concession card holder. Prime Minister Turnbull said it is a reminder of how keenly focused they are in the fight against cancer. Around 1,000 Australians are expected to benefit from the drug every year. Pauline Hanson has clashed with Greens Senator Sarah Hanson-Young on Breakfast TV over One Nation Malcolm Roberts' dual citizenship case ahead of the High Court's hearing on Tuesday. Senator Hanson-Young accused Senator Hanson of lying when she stated in July, hand on heart, Mr Roberts was not a dual citizen. Senator Hanson insisted she wasn't lying and called Senator Hanson-Young rude, ignorant and a pain in the backside. The dual citizenship case of 7 MPs, including Senator Roberts, is set to go before the High Court on Tuesday. He would lose his seat in Parliament if the High Court ruled he was ineligible to be elected. Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein has been sacked from the company he co-founded after being accused of ongoing and historical sexual harassment. The board of directors of the Weinstein Company announced in a statement that he'd been terminated effective immediately in light of the information about his misconduct. The board voted to remove Weinstein, leaving control of the company to his brother Bob Weinstein and CEO David Glasser. Weinstein's lawyer Lisa Bloom resigned on Saturday, as did his advisor Lenny Davis. 1/3 of the board also quit on Friday. Police are negotiating with a man on top of an apartment building in Chatswood, Sydney, after a woman's body was found in an alley at a nearby train station. The woman's body was found by a pedestrian on Brown Street near the Chatswood train station around 6:30am. Police are unclear if the incident is related, but they have closed the area as they investigate the woman's death and negotiate with the man. Manly West Primary School in Sydney's north has been closed until noon after a body was found on the school's playground this morning. Police say the body was of a young adult male and there was no suspicious circumstance around the person's death. Every parent was notified that the school would not be opening until noon when police and emergency services leave the site. The school stated that children who were already on campus were being cared for in before-school care. The man's body was apparently found shortly after 7am. The body of a Sydney bride who died on her honeymoon in Fiji of severe pneumonia is expected to be flown to Australia today on a private plane. The trip is set to cost $60,000. Kelly Clark, a 24-year-old children's nurse, was staying at a resort in Sigatoka, Fiji, with her husband Chase when she became unwell. After first believing she had a stomach bug, Miss Clark was soon rushed to a Lautoka hospital where she was treated for suspected typhoid. She died the next day. Port Adelaide football player Robbie Gray is fighting testicular cancer. Gray has had surgery to remove the tumour after receiving the diagnosis at the end of the football season. He is undergoing a short course of chemotherapy as a precaution. The club released a statement saying that his health is the most important thing for them and they are thankful the surgery went as well as it could have. Rafael Nadal has defeated Nick Kyrgios in a straight-set match to win the China Open final. Nadal seized his sixth title of the season with a 6-2, 6-1 victory against Kyrgios in Beijing. Nadal also triumphed in Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Madrid, and won a Grand Slam title in Paris and New York. He has a strong chance of finishing the season with the number 1 ranking for the first time since 2013. And now on to the weather. Monday is partly cloudy, reaching the top of 18. Tuesday sunny and 21. Wednesday reaching 25 with rain developing. Thursday cloudy and a chance of shower, max of 19. And Friday the same, 19 and a chance of rain. This has been Sheridan Lee for the Eagle Report, La Trobe Live.
Thank you, Sheridan. Very good. Very well done, headlines. And now, Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt announced yesterday that he will be introducing, or that the government will be introducing a new and improved vaccine to protect against the human papillomavirus. Papillomavirus. Oh, man. Papillomavirus. The Pavlova disease.
Oh, my God.
No, the papillomavirus. This new supercharged vaccine will be provided to all students in Victoria. No, just all students across Australia, aged 12 to 13. With us in the studio is Marie Trobe to tell us more about it. Marie, save us, please.
I will.
So, Marie, how does this vaccine differ from the last one?
So this vaccine is an upgraded version of the one that's used currently. So it's known as Gardasil, and it protects against human papillomavirus, or HPV, which can cause cervical cancer. The original vaccine protected against 4 strains of HPV, while this new upgraded one is protecting against 9. So it's a lot better. And it'll be known as Gardasil 9. The new one protects against 9, known as Gardasil 9. So it's thought that the vaccine could prevent around 93% of HPV, which is staggering. The old vaccine offers protection from around 70%, so it's quite a jump. The original vaccine was introduced in 2007 and was developed by Professor Ian Fraser, and it was originally designed for young women, although since 2013 it's been administered to boys as well. And it's administered in 3 doses over 6 months. The new vaccine, obviously because it's stronger and better, will only need to be administered twice. So you'll get 2 shots of it. And it's basically being labelled as a game changer, considering how much of an impact it's going to have.
For those of us who don't know what the human papillomavirus is.
See, it's not easy.
That was better than Calvin, I have to say.
Oh, whatever.
Human papillomavirus.
Yeah.
Well, what is its connection to cancer?
So, human papillomavirus it's a common virus affecting both males and females. It's been said that up to 80% of people will actually have it at some point in their lives, but in most cases it's harmless and you probably won't know you've got it. But in some people, it can persist and ultimately lead to some forms of cancer, which include cervical cancer, some forms of throat cancer, and anal cancer. So it's quite bad if it develops into that.
And so what does this upgraded vaccine mean?
So cervical cancer is the 10th biggest killer of Australian women. Prime Minister Turnbull said that this new vaccine could potentially wipe out the virus. So if it does, that would be insane. It'd be very good. It'd be very, very good if it did. So Professor Fraser says that there are around 10 strains of HPV that can cause cancer, and with the vaccine offering protection from 9 of those, it certainly does give hope to this prediction.
And how does this vaccine work?
So the Gardasil vaccine is made from proteins that on the outside look like the HPV virus. And it also contains some other ingredients like aluminium, salt and water, which stimulate the immune system and basically keep it stable so that it can be stored properly and then injected. So when the vaccine's given, the body creates antibodies in order to clear the vaccine out of the body. And so if a person who's been vaccinated ultimately gets the virus, the body remembers that, and the same antibodies prevent it from creating an infection.
Okay.
What happens to the people that were vaccinated with the original Gardasil? Are they going to have to get vaccinated again?
So Professor Fraser says that those who've already been vaccinated, including myself, are still well protected. So there's no need for them to get the new vaccine. But obviously, with the new one, it'll be better for those who are coming through getting it now. And he says that if women continue to have pap smears every 2 years, soon to be every 5 years, because the vaccine's been working and it's been preventing it, so there's less frequency for those. So it'll be going to every 5 years now. So they will be fully protected. So there's no need to worry.
So you have the iPhone, they have the iPhone 6 in terms of vaccines. that how it
That
kind
is
of
a great
works?
comparison. I really like that comparison. Although I do have the 7, so they'll probably have the iPhone 10 or
Oh,
whatever. But yeah, good comparison.
Well, thank you for coming in to tell us about the Pavlova disease.
I'm sure it's much more serious.
Oh
than
my
that.
gosh.
Papilloma.
Human papillomavirus. You need to prepare for this.
There's too many P's. I can't.
There's not. There's only 2.
That's too many. That's too many. I can't. 1 P is enough.
Sounds like an Italian doctor named the virus after
It
himself.
really
doesn't
does.
Yeah.
Say it one more time.
Papillomavirus.
Papillomavirus. I got it
You
right.
got it.
Thank you,
Finally.
Marie.
Finally. Last attempt. But yeah, the last few seconds you got it. So well
Right.
done. Yeah.
I think we need a segue to
I think so too.
entertainment.
Callan,
Hi.
tell us about entertainment.
Oh yeah. Well.
What's going on in the world of pop culture today?
Well, today I'm not
Not
sure.
today.
We just woke up, so.
Okay.
Recently though, there's been Blade Runner 2049, which is pretty great. I found out there are actually 7 editions of the original Blade Runner. 7 different versions, because there's like international release and then the director's cut and the ultimate cut and American
Do you
release.
count those though? Because those are like the same movie.
No, they're different. There's minor
You're
differences.
right. They have
seen
40
it.
seconds more footage.
They have more violence and that kind of a thing.
Have you seen all 7?
No, I have seen the old one. I think saw the ultimate cut, and then I've seen 2049.
I have seen none
There's
of them.
also an anime called Blade Runner 2022, like the blackout of. Because have you guys seen? You haven't. Have
No.
you seen 2049?
No.
Oh my
I
god!
saw a poster
Well-
for it, and it should win costuming because Harrison Ford's grey T-shirt looks phenomenal.
This is a great discussion. Then it's me talking about a movie I've seen and no one else has.
We'll pretend we saw the Blade Runner. How do
Yeah,
they
yeah,
run
yeah.
the blades?
Oh, actually, also hold on. Blade Runner though is a stupid name. For Blade Runner is someone who hunts out the robot, like not the robots, the replicants.
Yeah.
Why Blade Runner?
It's pretty edgy.
Who chose that title?
I don't know.
Well, I like that it's a lived-in world again, which is really nice. Like it's all dirty and grotty, and like it's been lived in.
Give us a quick, like,
Sounds
5-second rundown of Blade Runner. What's the plot?
The original one,
Yeah, just the general idea.
noir film. Guy has to hunt out replicant, falls in love with it.
What's a replicant?
Replicant is like a bioengineered human.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
They're basically like noir films in the apocalypse, which is quite cool.
Ah, yeah.
But they're not like, not science fantasy like Star Wars or Big Action. They're much more like real chill. Like here's some wonderful landscapes. Like there's a lot based on the dust storm in Sydney a couple of years back. It was all very red and orange and yeah, it was stuff kind of based on that.
Yeah.
It's all quite like a dystopian wrecked kind of a world. The sound design's my favorite thing about it, to be honest.
Why is that?
I loved it. It was really retro.
That doesn't help. Tell us more.
Perfect. You remember Tron Legacy?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
you remember
Yes,
that one, right?
I remember Tron.
Yeah. You know how the soundtrack was amazing, but
Yeah.
the visuals weren't so much?
Yeah.
This one is good on both.
Okay.
I mean, the start's my favorite part of it. It doesn't lag for an almost 3-hour movie, which is great. There's also like lots of shaved men without like reason. Just for some reason, like there's a lot of boys in the orphanage are all shaved. A lot of I don't know. It's kind
We're
of
living
odd.
in a dystopian future, but we can still afford to
Yeah,
shave our
yeah.
beards, yeah.
But yeah.
Have perfect hair on an island after we've been
Well, no,
stranded there for 30
lack
The
of
years.
first
hair.
thing I do
Lack of
during
hair
an
on
apocalypse
island.
is get a Brazilian.
Not
Tell us
enough
more.
Harrison Ford really about it.
Sorry?
Not enough like Harrison Ford in it, really,
enough.
which was kind of a worry for me. He rocked up near the end and then didn't do that much. And then other than that, yeah, I think the theme's really interesting again. I think it's the best like movie experience since like Mad Max, Fury Road. I should say not the first one. That one is boring. But like there are certain movies you enjoy. Like I love Beauty and the Beast, but I'll have the same experience watching that at home as I would in the cinema. Whereas
Yeah.
Blade Runner in the cinema is definitely a very different experience. Like it's the scale of the world is it's a really visual experience. It's kind of a small story in that world. Like you feel like you're getting kind of just a page out of a larger book, which is kind
Those
of
are nice,
lovely.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not like the world's ending. It's like here's some stuff which might go wrong later on, but right now it's like here's a thing which is a
Localized.
political topic in this world right now. But that kind of stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I also saw the first 2 episodes of Star Trek, not Beyond, Discovery. I always get them confused because they're very vague, forgettable titles.
Is that the new series on Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I've seen it on the Netflix front page featured, but I haven't given it a look. I'm a little bit scared.
I actually don't hate it. I think hopefully it'll get better right now because I saw the first 2 episodes and they feel a lot like the J.J. Abrams first movie. Like, minor spoiler, our protagonist captain is now in prison forever, and because she disobeyed the captain, and what's going to happen? They've also made it much more like a drama where like we know who the baddie is all the way through, and it's going to be like here are 2 sides fighting the whole time. And on that note, the baddie is the Klingons, and boy, do I hate these Klingons.
Sound sarcastic.
They're insects in this one instead of being like warriors. Like they're really buggy, and
like they've just changed the look of Klingons completely.
I changed them a lot. They exaggerated it in a certain way. Also, kind of like Pennywise. Like, they've got these kind of red, kind of ruffled armor. Anyway, one thing which certainly frustrates me is historically Klingons in Star Trek. Again, I'm a bit of a nerd.
Historically, in a made-up sci-fi
in the
world.
future, yeah, okay. Sure, right. Everything's made up, almost. But there are more made-up things than there are real things. I'm not sure what that's to do with anything. They're all about honor, and they're all like, once you die, your soul is left. We don't care what you do with the body anymore, right?
All right.
One of the opening things in this series is them like collecting the bodies to put on their ship as corpses on the outside of the ship and be like, you must honor this body, and like this elaborate coffin. As well as they do a bunch of...
trying something new. Maybe this is a new sect of Klingons that are trying to honor their dead this time.
Yeah, but it's a prequel. You can't.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can't,
okay.
You
That
can't
makes sense.
F things up in a prequel. I also have other notes.
Let us hear your other notes.
Yeah. All right. Captain's in prison. By the way, the Federation in this are super shady. Like, literally, they're just in the shade in this one point. Just like all dark. Like Evil Emperor levels
We have to
of...
show them that they're the dark side.
Yeah, but they're not meant to be. And they're just like, you're sentencing you to life. For what? But it's really frustrating, that element of it. They're meant to be about hope. Star Trek's meant to be about hope and like it's a ideal future rather than like the government's evil and it's war all the time.
Yeah, but it's a prequel. We haven't reached the ideal future yet.
At that point we have. It's 10 years.
Totally took you by surprise.
It's 10 years before the original series. It's not 100 years. It's
What
10.
can happen in 10 years? I thought I
Even-
was going to be a
even
famous
10
journalist
years
and
from
I'm on
here,
a uni show now.
That's true, but then it's that is fair. That's fair enough. Fine. You get that one. That's the ideal. I also miss all the captains in the old one, like Janeway and Picard, and even Kirk, have been like very confident and like they're like the parent of the ship, you know. And what I'm struggling with this one is it's about the captain's growth as a person, which is a big tonal change for the show for me. Which is fine. I'm getting used to it. I think I'm going to enjoy and keep watching the show. But that's a bit of adjustment. It feels like fan fiction. I've got a lot of the dialogue from the original Star Trek, but they don't say it with the same kind of confidence and the same kind of like owning it. Also, at one point, the captain goes, "Not a nanosecond longer," which just sounds like someone who is trying to make things
Doesn't know what science is.
No, not at all. But again, the uniforms are good, the sounds are good, the ships are good, the Klingon ships are horrible.
So it's looking like it has potential, but
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
completely there.
I'm going to keep watching. I have
Okay.
hope. Also, Rick and Morty's over forever again.
Sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you hear about the whole Szechuan sauce saga?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that was horrible.
Oh my god.
But also, it ended stronger than the last couple episodes because I
I saw
enjoyed
people
Rick Lantis.
I saw it on eBay for like $600, and you can buy Szechuan sauce from Safeway for
Just
$5.
make
Yeah,
some.
Rick and Morty fans are the worst fans.
Yeah. Anyway, we have to cut you off there.
That's
Otherwise,
fine.
this is going to be a Star
I'll go
Trek
on
panel
forever.
for ages. So thank you for coming in and venting. It's always nice to have a good nerd rage.
Thanks, man. All right, so we're on to everyone's favourite, a current Latrobe Affair story.
Just quickly, what time is it?
It is
12:20, and you can reach us on upstart.net.au or tweet us the show at the Eagle Report.
It's 1:20.
It's 1:20?
Yeah.
It's 1:20.
Let's
The
go,
story of
Dave.
ACLA begins with the true journalism of a current affair.
So inspiring.
It was after this event that Callum Misson made it his life mission to create a show that would equal that quality.
This is what I'm gonna do for a living. I'm gonna take these dodgy tradies out.
And so began ACLA, a show for Trobe.
Heinous day for car parking.
The coconut and the banana have become the hottest personalities on the block. Video games. There are a few words that come to mind when thinking of the pastime.
While Callum worked towards his dream of quality journalism, little did he know that forces were working against him. First would be the saboteur.
You were my friend. We have evidence. Well. It looks like I have no choice. It was Jared, my housemate and the worker for 1300 Arrival program, the showdown.
But the one to put the final blow in ACLA was the producer god emperor of 1300, Jake Kohler.
I'm sick of this. You break into people's homes, my home, make me look like an alcoholic. You can't do anything. You don't get any ratings. No, and that's it. That's it. Hand in your mic. No, I'm demoting you. You're going to work for Calvin's assignment now.
He's just gonna kill me on stage.
You're going to work with Calvin.
A dark time befalls a university with no ACLA, till one day a new hope rises in Adam. Donning sunglasses and growing his beard, as the host must always have a beard, he took on the hidden elements that were corrupting Trobe, the Soviet ducks. However, in revenge, an assassin was sent after him.
Shit, I think it was sent to kill me. Shit.
But for a while, ACLA seemed secure in Adam's hands. But an old conflict would come to the forefront. As Callum disguised himself as a producer of the Eagle Report to protect Adam, he was forced to battle against a dark assistant sent by Emperor Jake. Callum decided it was time to return to ACLA and reveal to Adam his destiny. But he was too late, as the assistant Liam had completed his training and had his body taken over by a dark being.
Oh my god, it's Ramzan Kadyrov, president of Chechnya. Holy.
With the death of Callum, the Chechen Liam now rules over the Eagle Report, making show-ruining decisions such as making himself host. Now the universe, E.T., waits for the return of the producer.
The hell? ACLA, it's always good stuff, isn't it?
I love it.
Do you love it?
Yeah, that guy looked familiar. I'm not quite sure.
He did, yeah. And I think I heard them mentioning a guy called Calvin. I don't know. Yeah. Does some history segment.
Kadyrov? I'm not sure.
Huh?
I think he's up there somewhere in a Chechen state or something. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Anyway,
didn't you get stabbed by Emperor Nero a few weeks back?
I wouldn't be here if I did. So the wide world of sports. Today we have Bilal and Ahmed, the usual folks. What's been going on?
How are you, Liam?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Ahmed,
Yes.
it's been an interesting weekend in sports. No club action in Europe because of the World Cup qualifiers.
And no AFL, unfortunately.
And no AFL, but you're gonna have to get used to that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little while.
And one thing that did happen is the Socceroos did play Syria in a World Cup qualifier. And to talk more about that, we have on the line the senior editor of the Daily Football Show, Joel Frucci. How are you, Joel?
Good, Bilal. How are you, mate?
Not bad. And Joel, I'm sure you might be sick of talking about this game by now, but Australia did fall just short when coming up against Syria on Thursday night, and the rematch is tomorrow night in Sydney. You looking forward to that one?
Yeah, mate. It's a big game, big night for the World Game up in Sydney. Actually, not a bad performance from the Socceroos over in Malaysia against Syria on Thursday night. Certainly, the first half was dominant, and we certainly dropped off a bit in the second half. Probably ran out of gas a bit. And when Josh Risdon, our right wing back, went off, that was when the tide really started to shift. But you would have seen late in the game, Omar Al-Soma winning a very controversial penalty, which in no league anywhere on earth was a penalty. It was a horrendous call. But look, a 1-1 draw, all things considered, not a bad result. We got an away goal to take back to Sydney. Our home form is very good, and I think on a good pitch and in front of home fans and in very moderate conditions, I think the Socceroos will be favourites going into the game, and no excuses not to win and move into the next round below.
Yeah, we're just looking at that penalty now. I agree with you 100%. I actually originally thought the referee whistled for a handball because when they initially went up, I thought one of them might have accidentally handled the ball. But then when I found out that it was actually for a push, I thought this sport is getting way too soft. You know, if you can't go up for a header like that and you get penalised for that, it's absolutely ridiculous. The A-League was also on over the weekend, making its return after the longest off-season in football history, or in current football. And obviously, as we take a look at some of the highlights from the weekend, there were some standout performances, including the Newcastle Jets. But which game really stood out for you?
Well, it has to be the F3 derby, really, on Saturday afternoon between the Mariners and the Jets. It's a fixture that's been lacking a bit of substance in the not too recent past. Yeah, an exciting game. A lot of people turned out to go and watch that game. Two really fresh sides, new look, the Mariners and the Jets. A lot of signings in both ranks. And I certainly wasn't expecting such a heavy scoreline in favour of the Jets. I mean, Roy O'Donovan, we all know what he can do and how many goals he can score. But I was expecting a lot better from Central Coast in that game. We've been pumping them up regularly on the Daily Football Show over the pre-season. They made a lot of good signings, but I guess so have Newcastle Jets, and they took everyone by surprise a bit by knocking 5 past them. And yeah, a bit of a statement of intent from them early doors. But apart from that, it was a very flat weekend. I was actually very disappointed with the rest of the games. I was just hugely underwhelmed with the opening rounds, and it was, I've got to say, it really matched the lack of hype and promotion going into the weekend, because you really wouldn't have known, unless you're an A-League fan, you wouldn't have known that the new season was coming up.
Yeah, exactly right. And one match that did disappoint, it's actually, I'll admit that it's the only match I actually watched in full, the Melbourne Victory and Sydney FC match, the Big Blue as they call it. Obviously, the only goal that was scored in that game was the own goal by Thomas Deng. Did you think Sydney FC were good value for their win?
No, not really, to be honest. Look, Victory started well. Probably the 5th time in a row that Melbourne Victory have started off against Sydney as the better side, with their tactics absolutely spot on. But again, they just couldn't make it count. And look, it's the mark of a good side. Sydney were well below their best. And after the game, Graham Arnold actually came clean and admitted that they were only at 30% of their capacity. And I've got to say that he was probably right, because they were not very good at all, certainly going forward, not fluid. But they were good value defensively. Jordi Boas and Alex Wilkinson, there's a reason why they conceded just, I think it was 14 goals throughout all of last season. They were good again. Yeah. They held the fort. So look, in that sense, I think they were good value for the win, but it was fitting of the game that it took an own goal to decide it, because it was a very scratchy game. Again, I speak of a disappointing opening round. That was our first game on One as a free-to-air broadcast under the new deal. And it was not a good spectacle to showcase to the mainstream. So hopefully next weekend we've got the Melbourne Derby in that time slot. So hopefully getting the rust out after 1 week, hopefully it's a better spectacle.
Yeah, disappointing. Only 127,000 people tuned in on free-to-air television. I'd hate to imagine how many would tune in if they had to pay for it. Oh wait, no, we do know, because it's on Foxtel, and their figures are actually better. The main issue I saw with what happened on Channel 10 was the advertisements in between play. Just quickly, in about 10 seconds, sum up what your thoughts were on that.
Interesting. I mean, I think there's ways to advertise in football, and there's ways not to do it. Breaking away from play isn't the way to do it. I think something more like live reads or banner ads is the right way to go and to advertise football. Yeah,
exactly right. All right, Joel, thanks for your time.
Pleasure, Bill.
All right, Ahmed.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting round in the A-League, or not so interesting, as Joel pointed out.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a bit of a snooze fest. I won't lie.
You can't expect much with soccer there.
Wow.
But no, move on from that. Don't start one of those arguments now.
I don't expect any better from you, really.
Oh, my bad.
Anyway, look, NBA, a lot's going on. And as an outsider looking in, OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder, they've really caught my eye. They've made a couple of good signings in.
Some real good signings. Carmelo Anthony, Paul George.
Exactly right. Took the words right.
Fortunately for the NBA fan, it's back. It's been a while, but where we're fortunate, we are unfortunate as well because it's just a preseason and you can't really take much from that. But yes, OKC have been really unexpected signings, trades and signings from over the off-season. They got two of the greatest small forwards in the league right now. Carmelo Anthony and Paul George, very dangerous scorers. And as we saw here against New Orleans and the Houston Rockets in the preseason, they've been real dangerous. So Paul George was able to score 22 points and 7 rebounds in a dominating game against. We know it's preseason, so you can't really put too much onto it. So still 22 points and 7 rebounds is dominant, as well as Carmelo scoring 19 points in just 20 minutes of play. So obviously they're real scary, and I put them alongside the last season's MVP, Russell Westbrook. It's looking like a real dangerous side. So there's a lot to expect from them in the coming season, but I don't know if they're real all the way there yet. Looking at how good the other teams are. But yeah, they're looking dangerous, and it's going to be good to watch them play this season.
And another team that's looking dangerous, they've looked dangerous for the longest time now, the last 3-4 years, the Golden State Warriors.
Yep.
Obviously, Steph Curry's back with a bang again. Looks like he's ready to go for the new season.
At his best over in China against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The first 2 games were a little underwhelming for Golden State fans, but Steph Curry yesterday was able to drop 40 points in just 30 minutes of play. It's hard to fathom what this man can do, just the way he shoots, the way he handles the ball. Not only that, getting his teammates involved with 8 assists as well. In 30 minutes of play, it's unbelievable, but he somehow did it. The defense obviously wasn't there in preseason. They kind of lack effort, so it was a real high-scoring game, 140 to 110. But the Warriors, after the first 2 underwhelming games from yesterday, they look like they're ready to go and probably going to get their second championship in 2 years, third in 4 years. So with Curry top form and Kevin Durant alongside him, it's looking dangerous, as well as Klay Thompson getting 28 points in just 13 minutes of play. They're putting numbers real unbelievable right now. I don't know if it's just a preseason or they're actually one of the greatest teams of all time. We're going to have to wait to see. Obviously, last year they showed us that they're definitely amongst the greatest teams of all time. But I think with another season going the next 7 months just dominating, you're going to have to put them up there with the 95, 96 Bulls of greatest team to ever play the game.
It's a big call. It's
a big call, but it's you're going to have to look into it. They're just that good. Unfortunately, that's another problem in the NBA now, though. The super teams, it's just an ongoing debate online, in person. Everyone's. You got 2 people on 2 different sides of the fence.
Don't even get me started on that. I don't think we have enough time.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of gone to the way the EPL and soccer around the world's gone. It's just signed the best player. There should be a salary cap, but I don't know where that's gone. So it's kind of a problem that we're gonna have to.
Yeah, there's too many ways to go around the salary cap.
Exactly,
really.
That's the thing. It's that smart men owning the teams. They find a way.
Exactly right. And before we sign off, we do want to touch on Robbie Gray.
Mm-hmm.
He has, as Sheridan touched on earlier, has been diagnosed with testicular cancer.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously one of the shining players of the AFL, and it's very, very sad news.
He's been on the come up the past 3 years. Had the surgery to remove the cancer, and now he's undergoing treatment. Fortunately, they say it was diagnosed early, and he should be back by preseason training. So best luck to him, and get well soon. It'd be good to see him back next year. Hopefully it works out. With the treatment the AFL players get this year, it's kind of like, I don't want to say easy, but they do tend to overcome it and come back to the field. So fortunately, he's getting the best care, and he should be back soon.
And there has been precedent for this kind of thing. Obviously, a number of AFL players that have overcome cancer, the likes of Jared Ruffhead and Jesse Hogan. Yep. So best of luck to him, and
hopefully it all works out.
Exactly right.
And just going back to the NBA for a little bit, we saw OKC versus Melbourne United over in the States. So just a quick looking at Adam Silver, we need you to start bringing some AFL games, some NBA games, to Australia, not just take our teams from us. So hopefully in the near future we see him over in Rod Laver. That's all I've got.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I'd even go down.
Exactly, should be good.
See Steph Curry in person.
Probably, see Steph Curry, LeBron James, some of the big names.
Sounds good. Anyway, I'm sure that excites you, Liam.
Sounds it. So,
really does. So excites him so much that he can't even speak.
I was really hoping you guys were going to talk about the EPL,
but there was no EPL over the weekend.
Predictions for a champion this year?
I can't really call that.
No, too early.
Yeah, too early.
We'll see you next time then.
You have a week.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Hey, Liam, you want to play some sports?
Yes.
Heads or tails?
Tails.
All right. You get tails, I get heads. Doesn't matter. Thanks a lot, guys. And now, the history of Latrobe Live. I'm going to miss it. I'm graduating most likely this year.
So am I.
I'm going to miss Latrobe.
I've done this for 2 years, Latrobe Live. I absolutely loved it. It's changed my life. I'm not sure about yours. You were hoping to be
I was hoping to be a famous journalist. Instead, I'm here. Cut to black and white. Sad violin. No. So we have a bit of a story telling you about the history of Latrobe Live, and we hope you enjoy it a lot.
Upstart Live started 2 years ago now. It was just a radio webcast, so there was some visual aspect to it, but it was mainly a radio show. So me and a ragtag bunch of students launched it under the coordination of Phil Kafkaludes. I was the inaugural executive producer. So now I think it's been going on for about 2 years. It's become or evolved into Latrobe Live.
Hi, my name is Calvin Loncarrick. I'm one of the hosts and presenters for Latrobe Live. For 1300, I hosted a lot and was probably the best host in that show, I reckon. I brought a real new crisp angle that the kids were wanting. But I also was a presenter, presented several topics, and I hosted my own segment that was known in script as Calvin Presents, because I can't think of a title. And that was where I dressed up as various figures throughout history and came on and sort of presented their stories. Some of them were famous, other times they were just caricatures of like Vikings and pirates and stuff, and that was a lot of fun to do.
Calvin wanted to be Hitler for his first history segment, and I said no because I'm that sort of producer, a little bit tight ass.
Hey, my name's Kristen Settinelli. I am a third-year Bachelor of Media and Communications student, and in 2017 I decided to join Latrobe Live. I started off as a host, and the first time I hosted I remember being really nervous, and one of my teachers, Phil, God bless him, he told me to, just take a few deep breaths, go outside, have a walk, and now I look back to that moment and kind of think, well, I've improved so much.
My name's Dan Tobias and I'm the vision switcher at the Eagle Report. So I handle all of the vision that you see on screen. I handle the cuts with the camera. I handle putting up the stories that people make, their pre-recorded stories.
My name is Callum Misson and I'm the executive producer here at the Eagle Report. I've been working with Latrobe Live for 2 semesters now. I started here working on 1300 as a reporter presenter. I did things, I worked on stories such as energy crisis in South Australia, also worked on the death of print media, and I also started my own satire series which is called A Current Latrobe Affair.
I was a really bad actor.
She was.
We had a lot of fun making ACLA videos, and I'm sure Callum had a lot of fun editing all of them.
I got involved in Upstart through Jake Kohler, who now works as an executive vice president of Latrobe Emperor. He started doing it when it was still almost like a radio show, and I saw how much fun it was. I had just started doing a journalism major, so I figured this would probably look good on a resume. Looks like a lot of fun. And I'm a bit of an egotist, so I thought that's something perfect for me.
I first got involved with Latrobe Live because of the then executive producer Jake Kohler. He recommended that I apply and give it a shot, as well as my then tutor/lecturer, Phil Kafkaludes. I got involved and it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
I mostly just heard about it through Callum and how he described it last semester, so kind of just rolled with it. What I enjoyed the most is when I had to handle vision switching one of the times that Calvin did his French accents. I don't know why he did the French accent twice, but yeah, so like those were always fun ones because, I get like the fun shot of everyone laughing because of how he looks or what he's saying, and then like I also get like the fun, oh no, he's about to stab someone, like shots that I had to like set up, so that was always fun to handle.
Definitely the Viking episode when I got to kill Callum. That was a lot of fun.
Go to Valhalla!
Yo!
He died by snake!
Yo, shut up! Yo, shut up! See what you made me do. Now my slave is...
Okay,
Okay. One of the standout moments that I had was doing the Crispies life hacks. The first one was probably the best one. The second one was not too shabby. But the first one was really good. I kind of just set a camera up in my house really awkwardly. My dad helped me out filming, but it turned out really well, and I was really surprised with what I could do and how creative I could be.
Back then though, we weren't here in the Media Hub. We were in the recording studio in the piano room, which was quite cramped, and because it was a recording studio, sound could pick up anything in there, so you had to be very quiet. It was also a very cramped space. We had the desk where the producer and the vision switches sat, and then we just had this big ass piano just like sitting in the middle, so we had to sort of like coordinate and move our way around all these obstacles.
The remainder of my subjects I took on producing roles as well. I freelance produce now as well, and so all those skills I learnt through Upstart Live I can apply in my everyday life as well.
Whenever I'm doing this TV show, people come up to me and say, well, how can I get involved? And they could be studying nutrition, they could be studying politics, they could be studying God knows what, but if they're keen, then journalism and media students will definitely be keen on getting involved with La Trobe Live, and I honestly recommend it to anyone. It's so much fun.
I would definitely recommend La Trobe Live to future students, both the journalism students and just the general media communications students. You get a good taste of working with equipment. You can choose, I believe, to be behind the camera, playing with the equipment a bit more. You can also get in front of the camera, and depending on the show you work with, you can really sort of brush up on your journalism skills. You can, if you're motivated enough, you can get some pretty good interviews and get in touch with people. And I think the more La Trobe Live evolves, the more the name gets out there, the more contacts you'll be able to make.
Are you coming back with it?
I absolutely loved my time at La Trobe Live last semester. It was absolutely fantastic, even though we were in that little piano studio and it was really cramped.
In one of the lesser-known groups.
Our show was fantastic.
1300 Supremacy.
No.
I'm sorry, did you have Vikings on your show?
I think that's what made us superior, clearly.
You know what doesn't make you superior? That ugly shirt.
Oh, come on. They never had an issue with this shirt last semester. Who wears a vest to the office?
The vest makes me look sophisticated, thank you very much.
I was going to wear a bow tie this morning.
You're going to Matt Smith it up?
I did have that
put a
thought
fez
this morning.
on as well.
I need to wear a fez. I think we might have a few issues up here. But
I think we might have like framing issues with that. We're both so tall.
It's important to get the pheasant.
Yeah.
It's very important. So we have a very special guest us today.
His name is Muhammad Omar Imran, and he's the president of Loud!
La Trobe Organised University Debating Society. It's one of La Trobe's only debating societies. And Muhammad's here to explain to us how we can get involved and learn some skills. Welcome, Muhammad. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you so much, guys.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm from Pakistan and I'm doing my master's in project management, and I've been debating for the past 6 years now. Yeah, and I love debating. Debating is my passion. I love to know about international affairs, talk with people, travel, meet different cultures, and here I am in Australia and completing my master's as an international student. Yeah.
Well, so, how long has Loud been around at La Trobe?
So we look into the archives, and I did talk to the former president, which were really hard to find. It's Loud is as old as La Trobe. It's more than 50 years, if I'm not wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's one of the oldest debating club in Victoria. Yeah.
And what pushed you to create a debating society?
Yeah, so that's a small, but I'll make it very brief. So when I came here as a master's student, I've had all that energy where I wanted to do more debating because I was doing in my uni. Here, sadly, I couldn't find Loud as active as now it is. So I started looking into different societies, started asking people, how can we start debating? Because Monash and Melbourne Uni are pretty active in the world. Like, they're always in the worlds against Harvard and these best universities. So I went to the club officer, Greg, and he told me that the club is there, but it's the people have left. So then I realized that I need to push and start this club, because this club is very important for two levels. A, for other universities to know that we exist in that format, and secondly, for a lot of students, especially from law, political science, history, communication studies, to come and experience how debating and public speaking is done.
Now, obviously, debating is a great way to gain confidence and grow your public speaking skills. Why do you think debating is a great skill to have, especially for La Trobe University students?
I think, number one, it adds on to your competencies. When you end up in the market, especially this competitive market, the Australian market, it's really good to have this as a skill, especially for the international students and students where English is their second language. And here it should be one of the mediums of communication. And it adds on to your resume, number one. Number two, you develop your speaking skills, which is a great gesture and great thing to for people. And the third is critical thinking. It really, really helps your critical thinking. It helps you with the assignments. Like when I'm doing my assignments, it really, really helps me build an argument, yeah?
So what events do you have on plan for in the future for Loud?
Yeah, so the first event was to organize a team and make Loud more active. So the coming events we have right now is we will have regular sessions, debating sessions for a lot of new students. Number two, we are planning to have La Trobe's debating competition with the help of Victorian government or the Victorian Debating Association. And the third is, even though it's not that directly related to debating, but public speaking, TEDx La Trobe. So that's when I came here, I felt it's a shame we haven't no TEDx La Trobe. So I was planning to have it under Loud's platform, yeah?
Are there any other public speaking events that you're hoping to have?
We're going to have the internal parliamentary debating tournament, and then we're thinking of as an idea to have interdepartmental debates or debates with teachers, professors maybe, debating from other universities, and these are the events that we are planning to more corely public speaking and in discussing discourse. Recently, we are planning to have interfaith dialogue and also what's happening in the political atmosphere of Australia for a lot of students to know about it. Yeah.
Okay. So so in Victoria we have the Debaters Association of Victoria, and or DAV. And it's the peak debating body that runs large competitions across the state. Would you ever consider sort of entering Loud as getting Loud involved with the DAV?
Absolutely, and I'm in talks with them. I'm in talks with them on two levels. Number one, we wanted to have more debaters coming up from Loud to join the Victorian Debating Association, because they also pay, if people have that incentive, they pay for people who have done that course and they do adjudication at different events. Secondly, a joint collaboration between both the institutions is going to be great for Loud, for La Trobe, and for Vic, because they'll have another uni, which is one of the great universities in Victoria and in Australia, to become part of their platform and to evolve essentially. And we are looking forward to it, and we hopefully will have good outcomes. Yeah.
How many people do you have with Loud at the moment? How many people?
So in the starting, it was only as I started it, so it's only one-man army. Now we have more than 40, 45 people. Especially there are two challenges that I am facing as a student, because I'm an international student, so I have to survive capitalism, maintain. Yeah, everybody's here. That was like a sort of a cultural shock, because people are so intensely busy, and you need to find the right people for this work, because even though debating is one of the hardest job in any profession, or public speaking is, I think, the hardest job, you have to find the right person. So I'm very happy that we have 45, but we're going to increase that, because we're going to target different majors like law, communication studies, political science, all the different disciplines. And we're going strong, and we're going bigger every semester. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for
Thanks
joining us.
You're welcome.
No worries at all. So we have a beautiful story from Sheridan on Pauline Hanson.
Do we?
Yeah.
Let us Pauline to that again. That doesn't work, but let's go to Sheridan.
Hi, it's Sheridan Lee here, your resident political reporter from the Eagle Report. And today we're here at lovely La Trobe, finding out what people think about Pauline Hanson's proposal to raise the voting age to 21, as well as the Greens wanting to bring it down to 16. So let's go and find out.
I feel like Pauline Hanson should be taken as seriously as student elections here at La Trobe.
I would take what Pauline Hanson has to say with a grain of salt.
It's a stupid idea, and I feel like they should just leave it alone.
No, because then I couldn't vote. I'm 19.
I think, if anything, the voting age should be 16 because, when I was 16, I was working and paying tax, so, we should have a voice too when we're 16. And if anything else, maybe people over 50 should not be allowed to vote because, their time's passed and it's not their future anymore. Why should they have a say?
Yeah, they haven't met 16-year-olds. Like, I know 18 to 16 doesn't seem like a big gap, but a lot of people change a lot during that time because that's the time when they leave high school and things like that, like 17, 18. So that's when they actually start changing the way they look at the world and the way they have opinions and stuff. While you're still in high school, a lot of the time, I know it sounds like I'm an old person, but they do have a naivety in high school, and you kind of don't realize things. Like I'm the same way. When I was in high school, I didn't really notice what was going on around me politically, and as soon as I left, like gave me a year, and then suddenly I was paying attention. And so, you wouldn't want me voting when I don't even pay attention. I don't even know what's happening.
I think politics is a part of everyday life. No matter which extent you experience it, it informs many aspects of your life, so you do experience it. It's just obviously not in the Senate or maybe not in, lobbying or rallying, but it affects you and it affects everyone from a young age. So I would say that she's underestimating the potential of young Australians.
So there you have it. People are divided on this, whether it's 21 or 16. If only we had some sort of middle ground, like maybe 18, which is what we have right now.
Thank you, Sheridan. That was very informative on Pauline Hanson, the voters' age. And now in the studio we have Sheridan. Wow. And Meg.
Hey!
How can we forget
I'm
about
here
Meg?
still.
Look, the joke was better if it was just... Okay.
No.
No?
No.
No? All right, fine, whatever.
All right, so this week, Meg and Sheridan are in the studio, and we're talking about the hot topic of gun control. But first, Sheridan has gone out to the La Trobe community.
We just did that.
Done that. I am reading off the script like a chump.
See,
this is why I shouldn't be doing this.
Welcome, Meg and Sheridan. So, gun control. Everyone's heard of the tragedy in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And once again, it's brought about the debate for gun control.
Yes.
So, Meg, let us know exactly what happened with the whole shooting and everything.
Okay, so basically on the night of the 1st of October, a gunman named Stephen Paddock opened fire on a large crowd at a country music festival on the Las Vegas Strip, which is obviously a huge tourist destination, one of the most famous in the world. And he killed 85 people and injured almost 500 others, making it now the worst mass shooting conducted by a single shooter in US history. Paddock used a semi-automatic rifle from the 38th floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel, which overlooked the music festival below, and was later found dead in his hotel room from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And he was found to be in possession of 23 firearms in the hotel room, and he had obtained these all legally in the state of Nevada. So obviously that came into a very controversial discussion about gun control again.
And why is it so hard to sort of achieve gun control in the US?
Well, basically, gun control is so hard and controversial because it goes all the way back to the American War of Independence, bit of a history lesson. In particular, looking at the Second Amendment, a section of the US Constitution, which was created during the American Revolution when the US became free from British rule. The Second Amendment states that the US must have a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So in modern terms, in modern English, this essentially means that the people have the right to bear arms against the government if it were to ever go against the people to ensure the continued freedom of the country. Obviously, the US is really big on freedom. It's kind of like one of their core values. So the last phrase of the amendment is pretty much the crux of reasoning behind the easy accessibility of guns. As many Americans believe, this gives everyone the right to bear arms, aka be in possession of weapons, for the protection of themselves, their family, and their country, basically. And it's hard because this mantra is so ingrained in the US culture, particularly in the more conservative areas in the South where firearms are much more easily accessible. This means that when a devastating event involving shootings from Columbine to Sandy Hook to Orlando and now Las Vegas, the gun control debate becomes so controversial.
Yes, well, Australia had a similar incident in Port Arthur, Tasmania, in 1996. Sheridan, what happened then, and what did the government do afterwards?
So, basically, on the 28th of April 1996, we know a young man named Martin Bryant murdered about 35 people and wounded another 23 people at Port Arthur. It's a former convict colony and now a tourist site in Tasmania. And he used a military-style semi-automatic rifle. It's a very powerful gun. Just to give you a picture of how powerful it is, it's one gun that the US military used in the Vietnam War. And he sat down, basically ate lunch in the cafe on the site, then started shooting people, then went to the gift shop, and then out to the car park and opening fire everywhere. He was then captured by police the next day and obviously later found guilty and given 35 life sentences without parole. And the then Prime Minister John Howard was quick to act, and about 2 weeks later, on the 10th of May, he introduced strict gun legislation. He basically banned private ownership of automatic and semi-automatic guns. He strengthened gun licensing, made registration mandatory, and introduced a 28-day waiting period for purchasing guns. And this all received bipartisan support. The government also created a buyback scheme where they would literally buy back a person's gun and pay them for it. And over 600,000 were bought back at a cost of $350 million, which they funded by a temporary increase to the Medicare levy, which is something I think we can all live with. And, you know, whatever you think of John Howard, whatever you think of the Liberal Party in particular, you know, it's an important thing that he did for Australia, and I would arguably say that it's the best thing he did as Prime Minister, to be honest.
Definitely. So last year was the 20th anniversary of the tragedy. And I'm actually applying for my A and B gun license, which is for farmers out in the country. And, you know, they watered down gun control after Port Arthur. And there is absolutely no need for a semi-automatic rifle. Like I've used bolt-action rifles, and they're just as sufficient as you need for hunting varmint or hunting animals for game.
I did laser tag on the weekend.
There's absolutely no need for a semi-automatic rifle in Australia.
Well, that's the thing between Australia and America, is because in Australia, firearms are used for legal hunting, for recreational purposes, clay target shooting, and it kind of draws the line at handguns, rifles, and shotguns. But in America, their
Used for
values
homicide.
their values come from protection. So that's where they're saying we need military-grade firearms to protect our country and our values. But I think the most important lesson that the US can learn from our own gun laws in Australia is that we are a free, democratic society, and we're still here, we're fine, and we are a country that's a lot safer because of our gun laws, and I think that's something that they probably need to look at and kind of discuss. And
They use the excuse that everyone carries a gun, so someone won't go out and use a gun.
Yeah, double-edged sword.
Concealed carry. Do you know how hard it is to get a concealed carry license in Australia? It's unreal.
Exactly, and the amount of police checks that we actually do have in Australia is nothing compared to the US.
It's insane.
Well, see, there's a lot to say, and unfortunately we're not going to solve the gun debate today. But
Not today.
Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
Have you had a good time first hosting, Liam?
Yeah, I'd like to host again, but I think we've
I don't think we're going to let you.
Yeah, I've reached the end of my degree. I won't be able to do this ever again.
Stop talking to me. I love you. Love you. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.
See you then.